I'll just mention that this Vindication season 1 is not worth watching at all. It's so bad.
What was so bad there?
I didn't
Robert
bother putting you
Rootson.
through it. But we watched a lot of things that I haven't mentioned because the weather's been cold. So
It's
we
been
haven't
a while since we've been on the airwaves, eh?
Yeah.
About 3 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, a long time. Might be a month since my last post. But whatever. The Addams Family movie was awful. James thought that Tim Burton would be doing it. And really, if Tim Burton's alive, that's the obvious
Yeah, should have done it, Tim.
choice, right? But
If you're alive.
anyway, maybe he didn't want to, or the people who did this just wanted to save some money. I don't know.
Maybe
But-
he's in semi-retirement or something.
So bad. That was so bad.
Well, it was okay for me, but it was kind of pretty flat. Pretty flat. There wasn't much of a story to be had.
I watched this, what is it, Maleficent or whatever?
Uh,
And I didn't put James through it. You can just leave it there.
I just want to see what it's called.
And
Maleficent. Yeah, that's making evil,
yeah.
as opposed to beneficent, making good.
And I didn't put James through it because he wouldn't have liked it.
Oh yeah, what was it? Horror movie?
No, Disney.
Oh,
But,
okay. Yeah.
Honestly, that Sleeping Beauty, she's cute, but she doesn't look like Sleeping Beauty to me. I'm not convinced. And anyway, so I thought it was stupid. And I'm into that sort of thing. Not into that though. James watched what's it called? Gemini?
Yeah, just Gemini. Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't watch any of it, eh?
Well, I watched a
heard.
little bit
Mm.
here and there.
Well, that's
I've been
right, you
busy
came in
doing
halfway through.
artwork, and I don't know what I was doing. Was I having a bath while that was on? I'm not sure.
You were having a bath. That's what.
So, because I don't feel like I was even in the room.
That's right. I had to explain all sorts of stuff to you.
Yeah, but once I got into the room near the end, I'm like, oh, well, I don't care that I've been missing it because
Yeah.
honestly, I can see how this is the next step past the what is that Benjamin Button or whatever, the making people younger. This one, Will Smith made younger, is actually talking and acting along with
He looks even fresher than the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Will Smith. And
Yeah.
so, but it's not convincing. It's pretty choppy. I don't like the way they have his mouth held like this a lot of the time.
Yeah, I
don't
think
like
they
it.
were trying to fight that
I
image,
don't
right?
know
So
what they were doing.
you wouldn't be thinking he was going to be cracking a joke. Now that I think about it, that would have been the reason why, right?
I don't know.
Anyway, I would have rather have gone with it, had the young pup who was kind of really, really a smart aleck.
I don't know.
You know?
Anyway, I'm eating Smart Woman tomato soup, which I made a long, long time ago, with some avocado, because we have avocado that we bought
Yeah, it's good.
recently,
Very
and
fresh
it's
taste.
very good.
Yeah. Tastes like springtime. A little early to be thinking those thoughts, but
And what's
that's
the
just
other
the
one?
way I
Vegas.
am. Vegas!
We watched the season 1, and then this is season 2, I think.
Yeah, I think they left an extra S off the end of this show. But what date? What is it on it? Where
I
is
don't
it?
know.
No, there it is up here. Vegas.
And honestly, I haven't really been watching it. I've been doing artwork
And
so
you've been
I
getting a
am
lot of
present
artwork done. Very impressive.
in the room,
Yep.
and it's on. But the Chihuahuas could give you a better review of it than I
Yeah,
could.
exactly right.
Um,
And they sleep through it too. So
But both James and I agree that the guy is made out like he's supposed to be this big, handsome stud guy.
yeah.
And neither one of us think he's attractive.
He's got a big fat pie face. He's got a little bit of a spare running around.
So I
the
don't
middle,
know who
so-
he's supposed to attract. But
Yeah, well, when I look at it now, I realize it might have been something of a prototype for Magnum PI, because he's walking around with his shirt half done. You know,
Yeah, but-
sometimes the shirt's off.
Tom Selleck's a lot more attractive than this guy.
Oh, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
Selleck was the handsomest guy of the 70s and maybe into the 80s too. I'm not sure. You know, the
And I'm not
Marlboro
into
Man.
facial hair on men.
Yeah. Well, that guy's hairy all over. That guy. I think he's got hair growing on his hair.
Yes.
It's amazing. But that was the kind of 70s type of look, you know.
Now, over the winter cold spell, where we haven't been deck dining, I did watch a lot of things. I watched Lost Christianities, which was a great course, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
So, I would say it was great. Not excellent, not as good as one on,
Gnostic stuff.
yeah. That guy, he was an excellent instructor. Yeah. This guy he was a good instructor too. I mean, they don't have total losers doing these great courses usually.
I've
right?
never seen a total loser.
No.
They're usually good at presenting stuff, you know, to people. They probably won some sort of a teaching award or two, you know, like what they're teaching is oftentimes nonsense, but you got to learn what sort of nonsense is the prevailing paradigm in whatever discipline you're dealing with.
And so I would recommend that Lost Christianities. I might talk about it later on if we have nothing to talk about, and I'll pull out the notes.
It's important to realize how much of it got sifted through, you know, like you'd probably do a better job of that than, let's say, Lost Judaisms. Because so much would have got lost. In the Bible, it talks about this was taken from the book of Jasher. It's awesome. And the book of Jasher just disappeared, right? So, but yeah, you could talk about reinterpretations of Judaism all the way down the line, you know, because there's lots of other stuff, you know.
Well, and it's interesting with the. You know, I'm going to have to talk about the Lost Christianities, just to talk about that, because of different interpretations of things. Because there were, before they really nailed down, well, I guess before the Catholic Church really nailed down Christianity, there were a lot of different interpretations of things, and it's interesting. It's really interesting to look at what some of the people were talking about. Like, I'm just thinking about now the Christian interpretations of what you're supposed to eat and what you're not supposed to eat according to the Old Testament, according to Moses, I suppose, right?
Largely, yeah. Although the second Deuteronomy is the second law. I don't know if there's the idea that came from Moses, but maybe.
And apparently, I can't remember who it was, but it's one of the big guys who was a kind of Gnostic, I guess, sort of teacher or whatever. He was saying that it wasn't that you're not supposed to eat this. It's basically like a you are what you eat sort of thing. You're not supposed to be like pigs or whatever, which is a weird way of looking at it. But then, I mean, we have the expression "you are what you eat." So, I mean, it's not just out of left field, right? Anyway, James will talk about the physics of history a little bit. He hasn't went through Disc 4 yet, but we have to return it before the library opens tomorrow, so you're going to have to talk about it.
I think I got a pretty good idea what it's going to be like. So, yeah. Anyway, the physics of history. We have a picture of the guy. Yeah, what a look on this guy.
Yeah.
Professor David L. Helfand has taught at Columbia University for more than 30 years. Columbia is the Ivy League university. Is the Ivy League university in New York City, and one of the two Ivy League universities in New York State. The other one is Cornell, upstate New York. So Professor Helfand has won numerous SEAT teaching awards, including a presidential teaching award from Columbia and a Great Teacher Award from the Society of Columbia Graduates. an expert in many areas of modern astrophysics. Maybe he's next one. Professor Helfand has been featured on popular TV programs, including the National Geographic Channel's Known Universe. So he's kind of juggling two sets of glasses, and sometimes he doesn't wear them, and I can kind of identify with that because I went to cataract surgery and I have to juggle glasses and all this sort of stuff. But the deal is, you know, he should have saved up some money so he could get some bifocals or something like that, right?
Anyway, some of the stuff that I was listening to, I thought, gee, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
And I think every single person would enjoy watching this great course.
It's possible. There's some important stuff.
Listening to it, you know, like while laying in bed.
The story behind carbon-14 dating, which is used for history and archaeology. It's misused because the Egyptologists got into the process early on. And we're lecturing the experts on radiocarbon dating, or carbon-14 dating. Hey, you're wrong! No, the radiocarbon guys were right. And the Egyptologists were wrong, and they should have been suspecting it because Isaac Newton, a couple of 100 years before, 250 years before, had been saying there's 400 too many years in Egyptian chronology. The carbon-14 readings were saying it was like 500. So Isaac Newton was off, but not off by that much, particularly by comparison with the Egyptologists. So nowadays, every carbon-14 reading around the world is, before roughly 500 BC, is adjusted to please the Egyptologists. Brilliant. So that's nothing that he talks about, but he does talk about how it developed. Some of the other dating systems I'm a little skeptical of, maybe almost cynical of. Potassium-argon dating looks as though it has its problems. I mean, if you potassium-argon dating, this is what I've read, it could be wrong, but potassium-argon date stuff that was laid down Mount St. Helens, and I experienced that. I was downwind of it. I think it was May 18th, 1980, but the the potassium-argon readings read hundreds of years ago. Uh-oh, we got a problem, Houston. Houston, are you working on the problem? Nah, you ain't. Anyway, yeah. So the one thing I don't want to hear this guy talk, well, I do want to hear about it, but you know, like he's talking about astrophysics and physics and stuff like that, and theoretical physics.
People got to learn about all this.
You got to learn about it, but understand, you know, like it is when you're talking about 95% of stuff out there in the universe being dark matter and dark energy. You're dealing with paradoxes. You're back in the Middle Ages. It's medieval thinking and stuff like that. When you run across something like that, you should go back to the drawing board and say, we made a mistake. It's not possibly we made a mistake. You guys made a mistake. Get back to the drawing board and do what you get paid for. So yeah, I think this guy's maybe eating in a little too much. He says, I like food, and he likes making, and I think he's like Paula Dino, you know, like making sure that the test is on the way. So yeah, he's probably a fairly good astrophysicist as far as these guys go, but they're intellectually dishonest. They're some of the most intellectually dishonest people out at universities these days. So.
It's important to watch this stuff to learn about what is being taught, what is believed to be true nowadays.
And it's amazing.
Look into it for yourself and say, well, you know, is this what somebody believes? I mean, you may not agree with James, you may not agree with me on things, and I hope you don't just take everything that we say and go, oh, well, that must be true.
Well, I mean, no one would do that.
Why would anybody think that about something that anybody says? You know, it's just somebody's
so the whole thing is
perception of reality. And
watch this stuff. But don't watch it exclusively. Don't watch us exclusively. Yeah. But take this stuff and go back to the drawing board, because these guys don't do it. They run across anomalous stuff and they just sweep it under the rug.
No, but there's some things, like for me, I'm a little too out there, I think, for like with James, what I was saying to him, one point, I think it was near the beginning of the lecture, this guy was talking about we have I don't know, 100 billion atoms that make up da 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 da, and there's 100 billion stars in the da 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 da, or whatever, and how his students think that there's something mystical about this or whatever, right? But the thing is when I hear that, I just go 100 billion from where do you get these numbers? You know, it's just a made up number. It's like we were watching a great course about some different kinds of numbering, how people did. It must have been something to do with math. Anyway, it was the instructor was talking about how different cultures, like say people in some tribe or whatever, would say 1, 2, 3, 4, many. That's as many numbers as they have because they don't have a need for more than that. So it's just anything over that is many. And when I hear 100 billion, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, many. It's just many. And which is important to know that it's many, more than you want to bother counting. But I mean, it could be 100 billion and one, it could be 200 billion, or it could be, who knows what the number is. It doesn't mean anything mystical to me. It just means many, right? But then James was saying, well, it's important to know, say the, you know what, we watched
gravity
two courses
is
at the same time, so it might, I might be getting too mixed up. James will talk about the other one tomorrow, just in case I'm getting them mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
But was it this one?
It was this
okay,
one.
good.
He was saying there's like 100, I think it's billion stars in our galaxy, in the Milky Way, right?
But anyway, you get my point. And so James was saying, well, it's important to know how much stronger electricity is than gravity or whatever, that it, you know, the force is much stronger or whatever. And so he was giving examples and this and that. And yes, that's important to know. So, I'm sorry, I interrupted
it's maybe not
you.
that.
You're supposed to be giving this talk. I
really.
don't know anything about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I watch these things, honestly. James will be giving the talk tomorrow, if weather permitting. Which
is that about
should
electronics?
Be. Yes, modern electronics, because we watched another great course, and awesome. But with that course, I would suggest that you only borrow that one from your library. You might not be able to borrow it through TAL anymore, because I don't know if I'll be able to borrow things from TAL through my local public library anymore. We'll see. Because apparently with the new government we have, they've cut funding to the libraries or something. The public libraries.
Does make a difference who you vote for.
And I'm not going to be able to put my own TAL holds on hold, and they might not be non-fiction items like this. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what they should be, actually.
But so anyway, but the modern, what was it? Modern electronics, understanding modern electronics or whatever. Get that one out, only that one at once, because
you'll have to do some
there's so much material there. He gives you different things to build, like projects to work on. And had I done that, had I done the projects, I know I would have a firm grasp on understanding modern electronics. However, we rushed through the course and I did not do any projects at all, and barely...
Did you do any calculations?
No. So I didn't do anything, and I don't have a grasp on understanding modern electronics. So James will be reviewing that one, because hopefully he was paying better attention than I was. And I feel badly about that. But I was paying very close attention to Lost Christianity, so I can give a pretty good talk on that at some point. So what are you going to talk about?
A couple of books. I finished them a long time ago. This one in November, this one in July.
Oh.
Esperanto, self-taught with phonetic pronunciation. I don't think I reviewed this one. You don't remember, right? So this is a made-up language.
I thought you went over that a long time ago.
On the show.
Well, maybe not on this show. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, Joseph Stalin studied this, and maybe we could, but it's a fairly easy language to learn, at least in terms of vocabulary. So, yeah, it was, I think it's a cheap book I bought it used, so. A dictionary of foreign terms. I got this from the library. I hope it was it was withdrawn from a school, a county school. Anyway, dictionary of foreign terms. Kind of credited to Charles Berlitz. It was written by someone else. They call inside here Charles Berlitz a linguist. I don't know if he's much of a linguist, but he was a publisher and a guy who wrote lots of. Or he got someone else to. I'm not sure if he kind of was the ghostwriter. No, he had someone else ghostwrite stuff on teaching different languages. They're pretty perfunctory, pretty basic, really. But this has, it's got some words, like in aqua scribus. It's actually saying this is in Latin. You are writing in water. So it means I think his stuff is pretty ephemeral, right? In aqua scribus. In arms, under arms. There's a lot of Latin stuff in there. There's some East Indian stuff. And then there's just got like dom, Russian, house, domicile. That's weird. D-O-M. It's related to Latin domicile, right? Dom, house, Russian related to Latin. They're both Indo-European languages. So this is the second edition. The cool thing is the second edition was 1975, first edition 1934. So some of it's pretty old-fashioned. I love it. Anyway, I went through it. I'm going through it a second time, going through the Esperanto a second time. So the thing is, that is my seal of approval. If I start going through something a second time, it might not be good, but it's worthwhile and it'd be worthwhile for folks out there, particularly language. That's how I judge you out there to a large extent. How much language, how much mathematics, how much logic, how much statistics do you know? And that doesn't matter if you're in the humanities or the sciences. Those are the way I judge you. Okay?
Well, you must just think I'm just dreamy.
Dreamy? I think you're a dreamy person. Yeah.
I don't know anything about those things. I know very little.
Well, English is part of it.
I don't know a lot of technical terminology. I know Latin plant names.
See? That's important.
I don't know why I know that. I don't even use them. But
well, actually you do. But
I don't use them.
What is Quercus?
It doesn't matter.
But you know them, right?
I know. Of course I know. It's
Macrocarpa.
Yeah. That's
burrow,
right?
Yeah. There we go.
But
yeah. And that means big fruit, right? Macrocarpa. A little bit of
doesn't matter.
A Latin mixed up with Greek.
Doesn't matter at all.
No.
And I keep giving up on French and Spanish. So that must really impress you every time I give up on that.
No, I don't give up on French. Spanish will probably start. But here's the deal. This is how I judge other people. I know that you're creative. But you see, other people, they aren't creative. If they can't show me creative, they'd better show me that they've done some homework. You see what I'm saying?
But I realize now my art is more of psychological exercise each time I do it. That's all it is.
Anyway, that's a lot of stuff we covered.
Okay.
I got lots more for tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah, you might want to give a little talk on Discorist. I don't know. But
yeah, we'll see what happens.
He has a lot to talk about that other modern electronics.
That
was very interesting.
Yeah, the modern electronics. And I should mention that this guy is, though they're all pretty good lecturers, this guy doesn't really lecture. He reads his stuff, and he doesn't read it terribly well. I think he has trouble with his eyes, so he's stumbling. And they should have really stopped it, Okay, you blew that one. Let's do it over again,
don't know. I think it sounds like he's doing a good job.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's production. They put the, I don't know, is it to get away from the lights or something like that? They put his cue cards too far away from the camera. You can actually tell that he's not looking into the camera. So,
Okay.
it's a bit distracting.
Okay.
So, he's not one of the best lecturers. I mean, the Degrassi guy, the other Neil deGrasse or whatever is the other astronomer they got in the great courses. He does a much better job of projecting, like stuff like that. Of course, he's a scoundrel too when it comes to his beliefs and stuff like that. It's a belief system. They're out there for money. It's just like Joel Osteen or whatever, that guy that Bible pounder. What is he? Like the evangelizing preacher on TV.
I don't know any of those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess sometimes they manage to make their way into my universe. Like, I think everybody knows who Tammy Faye Baker is, though.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Tim Baker and Tammy Faye.
Yeah, well, they'd be so old now. They must be dead.
Hard to say. But they'd be old.
Anyway.